everybody. I am Kara Bundy Dunn, the host of the Mediums podcast. And today we have Holly Hall on the pod. Holly is a life and business consultant who is a master astrologer. She is educated in psychology and philosophy. She is NLP certified. She does past life hypnosis therapy, heart math certified. She's a clairvoyant and does remote viewing. And she is also the author of the book 101 Answers from the Universe. So it is so nice to meet you, Holly, and it is so great to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Kara. I've been looking forward to this for some time now. Once I got settled down, because I'm a bit of a gypsy in the wintertime.
I love that. Why not? Why not enjoy the sunshine and follow the sun? I love that. So I just did an intro of you, but I would love to hear about your journey as an intuitive. Have you always had these intuitive abilities? You know, where have they shown up for you? Just give us a little bit of your life's journey and life story.
Thank you, and thanks for asking. It's not the typical where people say, like, I had this gift since I was 3 and 5, and I told my grandmother she had this and that. It's not really that type of a story. I do have a mother that was psychic, did tarot cards, was very hippie like in the day, and they would gather around and she would do tea leaf reading. And her mother was the last of the gypsies to settle down in Hungary, Austria area. And so I was told when I was 13 by a very prominent psychic at the time that was friends with my parents that I was also psychic, but I was very scientific and I just didn't see it. I was like, if I can't see someone physically in front of me that nobody else can see talking to me, or I can literally hear words in my head, then I'm not psychic. That's what I thought it was. So I didn't think I was at all until I was about 21, and I was saying exactly these words to a very stoic English co-worker that was kind of surprised that he gave me these books. He goes, well, you might be interested in astrology then. So he gave me these books, and literally I read the book with the intention to argue with him that this was not going to work. But I'm not someone who's just going to put something off just because it's in my thoughts. I have to, like I said, I have a scientific mind, so I have to do the legitimate work and read it. Well, then, I'm going to age myself, but it was just before computers became public, to the public person. So I got the first Commodore 64 not too long after that because I wanted to get an astrology program, but I had to do the mathematical equation. And the mathematical equation is, and I'm not good at math, it's about 2.5 pages long. It's very detailed. If you get it wrong, you're not going to get all, the proper birth chart. So I did that. Then I started doing readings for neighbors, friends. Some things really freaked people out, and that kind of freaked me out. I was like, I can't do this. This is really personal, and people don't understand why I know this much, have this much information. So I sort of just did, I actually wanted to become, I wanted to talk to dead people. So I started taking like a lot of courses and joined groups where I could learn that part. And that still didn't come till a few decades later. And then I just did my regular job. I was a hairdresser. And then I became a single mom. I worked for Canada Post for a while to supplement, and did hairdressing on the side, supplement my income. And then about 8-9 years ago now, starting about 11 years ago, actually, for quite a few years, I had my own talk radio station, believe it or not.
Oh, amazing.
And so I had several hosts, and I ended up interviewing Dr. Shefali, who many people, if you're a parent, you may know who she is. She's quite famous with Oprah. Has had her on several times. And so that didn't, the whole station thing didn't work out. But 8 years later, and this is karma. This is the most amazing karma story you'll probably ever hear. 8 years later, I kept bugging her like once a year or twice a year, because she's famous now, right? So she's not going to know who I am. And I predicted her fame. That was the thing. I told her exactly when it was going to happen and etc. So finally she said, yes, I could use a reading now. So I did this reading, and my uncle, this is the karmic part, my uncle, who's a business coach, I was so excited. I told him, I said, what should I do? He goes, you got to ask her to endorse you. Well, 20 years before that, my uncle took me for some money, and I was okay with it. I don't have a problem. I don't have money issues. I got over it. He was really apologetic. He felt very bad that it happened the way it did. So this was karma to me payback, because if he didn't tell me to ask her, I wouldn't have asked her. And I asked her, and she endorsed me, and my whole world blew up.
That's amazing.
Literally, the server couldn't keep up with the mails coming in. I had to build a website within that weekend because I didn't even have one. Like I had to do this. And I did it on a 17-hour drive to Omaha, Nebraska. We were going there for Easter. My husband was driving, and I'm in the back going.
Do you know that's where I live? I live in Nebraska.
Do you really?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and that's, I've been to Minnesota too, which is just beautiful. Just what a beautiful place. I went there too.
So you built a website in a 17-hour drive.
Yes. And I've been busy ever since. I've been very busy ever since. So as I started working with my clients, I wasn't just doing astrology anymore. People were saying, this can't be just astrology. You have to be psychic. How would you know this stuff? I'm like, no, I'm just really good at astrology, And I've always been interested in the human mind and what motivates people and why they do what they do.
Totally.
If I was, if I had the opportunity educationally as a child, I probably would have ended up trying to be either a teacher or psychology. I did go to school for psychology. I don't have my diploma in psychology, but I did go to school in psychology and philosophy. I just didn't finish. And so as I'm working with my clients, I've got clients going, can I hire you as my therapist? Can I hire you as my coach? Because I like working with you. And then I started using examples of trying to give them like example stories of something that I meant. So if somebody said, I'm not getting along with my husband, and then this was a famous one in my mind, I said, well, let's look at it this way. If you were to go on a vacation together, and she goes, oh, literally we're going on vacation, and I told them if we don't get along in this vacation, the marriage is over. And so I told her this whole story, like, it's like if you went on vacation in Barbados and blah, 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 blah. And that's what she said. She goes, that literally happened, Holly, 2 weeks ago. I told him the marriage was over, da, 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 da. And I said, well, you got another vacation coming? She goes, one more. So I told him exactly how to plan it out according to her personality and his personality. They were very different vacation partners. They did not want the same thing. I could clearly see it in their chart. So I said, make sure you got to get a travel agent because they're going to plan everything for you. And you have this planned, and that'll help him. And you have that planned, and that'll help you. Some things you'll do together, some things you won't do together. And their marriage stayed together after that. It really was just, she thought, he just didn't care about what she wanted. And he thought she was just being sort of a stuck in the mud.
Yeah, right. They both had their own point of view, I guess. Yeah. Exactly. But it has to feel good to help people. That's what I think, too. Every time I do a reading for someone or coach, I also do leadership coaching. It just fills your heart when you're truly helping people.
It's the best part of my day.
Yeah, that's how I feel too.
Is the best part of my day. Like, I can only do so many because it does drain your energy. And I do a lot of email readings as well. So I do that too.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about that because that's kind of unique. And so several of my friends have had readings from you, and they often will get a recording from you. So tell me like how you work and how you do that. And I have a few questions about that, about the recordings in particular.
Oh, good. That's a great question. So I do my typical one-on-one, which is an hour session, which is live. We're not on video because, as you see, everyone's going to get a sneak peek of how I do a reading because I'm going to do yours live here. You'll see me looking at my computer, and I'm not really focusing on you at all.
Right.
Programs on my computer. So normally they're audio. Then the mini readings are 15 to 30 minutes, and people just ask me questions. Sometimes they bring in other people. They want to know what's going on with my boss, what's going on with my sister, is this guy a good one for me?
Right.
Or they may ask, is my house going to sell? I've got some health issues. I've got clients that actually do text messaging with me. I've got a few.
Nice.
I can manage so many.
Totally get that.
And they just feel comfortable talking to me about their worries and their concerns. I have had clients as young as the age of 6, believe it or not, one-on-one. Typical is I've got 2 very consistent ones right now, which are brothers, young boys. They're teenagers, up until 80.
Yeah.
85.
Well, I heard about you because I am in a group called Beautiful Writers. It's a women's writing group. And
Right.
I can't tell you how many of those, Linda Silverstein leads that, and I can't tell you how many of those women have, have gotten readings from you. So many.
Always the one that's, I just love her.
And it's amazing. And so, of course, I'm telling them, like, oh, I'm writing this book. I'm going to start a podcast. They're like, oh my God, you've got to reach out to Holly Hall. You've got to get her on your podcast. And you were so gracious and generous. You didn't even know who I was. And you said, yeah, I'll do it. So I'm so happy that you did that. That's so fun. Okay. So when you're recording these 15, 30-minute mini readings, sometimes people say they can hear like little pencil marks in the background. And I'm so curious, are you writing things down while you're looking at your computer, or is it?
People say that too. Like somebody says, sounds like you're drawing or something. And I'm like, it's my keyboard.
It's your keyboard checking out things. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I've got to go, like right now, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I've got 8 tabs open just for my astrology readings.
That's incredible.
And then now I've added 3 more tabs. So I literally have 11 tabs open just for my astrology reading. So I have to go back and forth from tab to tab, and I have to type things in. And sometimes it might be just me like playing around on my mouse.
Yeah.
On a Mac, right? Yeah.
Well, the unsolved mystery is solved.
Now,
that's amazing.
Tell you, though, when I do one-on-one readings, not when I'm doing recorded readings, but I mean, I do record the one-on-one readings too. But when I'm talking to a person one-on-one, I haven't done it in a while, but I do often have a doodle beside me, and I'm doodling something, and that helps me stay in the right side of my brain.
Yep, this is what mine looks like when I'm doing readings.
Right? Yeah.
It's like this, like an entire book full of that.
Good for you. In fact, when people I teach people to do that, my clients. I go, I don't care. I'm not an artist. I said, I don't care. You can doodle. You can string beads. You can make a necklace. Like,
yes.
It doesn't, you can repaint your dining room, like it doesn't matter. Just get creative to get into that, because they want to know, how do I get psychic? How do I get intuitive?
Yeah.
How do I enhance? Or I've got, I'm not intuitive anymore. So I'm kind of stuck. And I go, you got to get into that right side of your brain.
Yeah.
And those are the things that you do. Go out in nature. That does it as well. I get a ton of messages.
I do too.
Alone in nature.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. When I'm bodies of water, oceans, lakes, when I'm in the mountains. I was just in Sedona, and that was awesome. Having just quiet time, hiking by myself in the mountains. It's so beautiful. But for me, it's just like a pen. Sometimes they're drawing pictures for me, like, kind of helping me see like a boat. I'm like, a boat. Like they'll kind of start doing the shape of a boat and flash the word boat, or, like things like that. So it helps me a lot to have a pen in my hand and either scribble or write or draw. And it helps keep the channel open for me.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people do the scribbling as well. I get visuals, so I will get visuals. I get visuals of a lot of people.
You do?
Yeah.
You'll see what they look like?
Yeah, I can see other people in their life. Like, I had a client not too long ago who wanted to, having some issues at work. And I said, well, you got two workers there. And I said, one's, she's chill, she's fine. I like her energy. But there's a guy, I said, I literally see him in a gray suit with his legs up on the desk. Kind of like he thinks he's all that in a bag of chips, but he's not really doing much of anything. And she freaked out.
She like nailed it.
Like I thought the legs on the desk just meant he was lazy.
Oh,
that's literally. She says, Holly, he's got a gray suit in his office, and he comes and he changes into that every day, and then sits at the desk with his legs up, and he just is all cocky and everything. So yeah,
you're like, his energy less good, less ideal for you.
Yeah, not like his energy at all.
Okay, so I'm really curious.
Tell people how to deal with them.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. How do you go back and forth between Western astrology and Vedic astrology. And some people don't know what Vedic astrology is. They only know of like astrology as in like my horoscopes or things like that. Can you kind of explain them? Do they both work? How do they work? How would you use one versus the other? I'm super curious about that.
So I did Western astrology forever, for a couple of decades. And then I got this app called Stellarium, which is it's an astronomy app. So you can look up in the sky and it will tell you everything that's there. And because I'm an astrologer, I used to get mad because it wasn't aligned with what my astrology was telling me. So I just dumped it. And then not too long ago, I found this guy and he started talking about Sidereal, which is basically, it looks just like Western. It's the wheel and the 12 houses. Because if you know Vedic is square with triangles in it.
Right.
And there's South and there's North Vedic. And the thing is I had a very profound experience in my 20s that I cannot deny, that I was told I was an old Vedic astrologer. I know that I must have known this because I picked it up so fast.
Yeah.
So fast. It's just ridiculous how fast I picked up on it. And so I said, well, why am I doing Western if I was this old Vedic astrologer, right?
Yeah.
And then this came upon me, and then I thought, with Sidereal, it incorporates what's called constellational astrology, which is exactly where the planets are in the constellation as we speak, which is what this app was doing. And Western is off. Western is off about 11. It's arguable, but it could be 11 to 24 days. They say it's off 24 days, but our actual calendar is off by 11 days, according to the tropical rotation around the sun. That's
right.
why our winters are a bit longer and our summers are a bit longer. They're not going to tell you that, though. So it's still the wheel, but your planets are going to be off. So, for instance, you're August 22nd, so you're on the cusp of a Leo Cancer. But I know you're going to be Cancer. Your sun sign will be in Cancer because it's going to be about 24 days prior to that. But other planets will probably be in Leo. And in Vedic astrology, there's also what's called Dasha, which I'm just exploring now. And that's why I say I add another 3 tabs onto my screen, because now I'm looking at people's Dasha, which tells me your seasonal. It's like if you write a book and you got chapters in a book. So think of your life as a book, and each book has a chapter. So Dasha tells me what chapter you're in your life.
And are those a range of years? So I'm kind of familiar, like a 8-year or 9-year span. I can't remember what they are, but they're a range of years of spans. Okay.
But they're around that. They're around 8 to 10, 11 years.
Right.
The very first Dasha could be only like 6 months. And then you go into the
next one.
And at the tail end.
Right.
So
that's a really good way to explain that, Holly, because I've been to some different astrologers and sometimes they're speaking so over your head. I was like, thank God I kind of know this stuff, or I would be so lost. But you have such a lovely way that you explain things and really help people understand that. So thank you for being so gifted in that way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do it. I mean, you have my astrology chart up, and I think how fun to do this live. I'm going to have some courage and just whatever flows. It's whatever happens to me, I assume is going to help somebody else. So I'm down for it. Let's do it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay.
Have you ever done these live on a podcast before?
I have. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. Okay, well, cool.
I've done like live readings as well too. But I'll be honest with you, most of the time I do it ahead of time, so you know what my work is like, but we didn't do that with you.
Yeah. Well, that's because we were meant to do it live.
Absolutely. So in Western astrology, you would probably be like more moving towards like, what do you think you are? You think you're Virgo or Leo?
I don't know.
You had your chart done.
Yeah, I have parts of me that I identify as Leo and parts of me that I don't. So that's probably not a surprise to you looking at that. I've always been pretty outgoing and pretty friendly and bubbly and all of those kinds of things. But I'm also like really deep and complicated, complex.
This is interesting that you put it that way. I love it. So You are still a Leo. You're at the first 5 degrees, so you're 5 degree Leo. So you're right at the beginning. Where in Western Astrologer, you'd either be 29 something degree Leo or right at the beginning of Virgo. So you'd
Right.
be on the cusp. But the interesting thing is that you do have Venus and Mars, both planets, in Virgo. So what this means, and the one thing with Vedic astrology is the moon is more important than the sun. And so it's the moon, the sun, and then the ascendant, or the moon, the ascendant, and the sun. Every astrologer is different. The
Yeah.
moon is always the most important. And so in yours, you've got a Leo sun, which the sun is all about kind of the new clothes you're wearing in this lifetime. So you are here to shine and to have more attention put on yourself and to play and to feel important and to do things where you feel like you're important. And so you are here to shine. It's very, very important to know that because some people will look at Leos like they're egotistical and they think they're all that in a bag of chips and they just want to be on stage and get all the attention and the drama, but not necessarily because you got a moon in Aries, and a moon in Aries is very complementary to a sun in Leo. In Vedic, in West Sidereal astrology, you have a moon in Aries. So with a moon in Aries, and what's really cool is it's trining, which means it's making a very positive connection to Sun, Saturn, and Mercury, which means in your creative way, communicating, writing, creative writing, speaking, talking, sharing, teaching is really emotionally satisfying for you.
Hmm.
And this makes you feel a sense of this is who I am. When I'm talking, speaking, teaching, sharing creatively, I feel like myself. I feel like me.
Yeah, 100%.
Make sense? Yeah.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
Saturn is very close to your sun, so you do have to be careful of being overworking or being too much of a perfectionist or
Yes.
continuously or being really hard on yourself because you got that little drill sergeant inside.
Yeah. I will say I'm a lot better at this, but I had a almost full on meltdown turning into 40 being a corporate executive, and I literally fell on the floor of the Denver airport and cried, and I was burned out. But I don't feel that way anymore.
You
I
know what?
learned.
That's the beginning of age 40 to 42 is what's called our Uranus opposition. It's between 40, 42. Some people are 39. And that's what's called the midlife crisis when they go out
Yes.
and buy the red Corvette and hook up with a 22-year-old girl kind of thing.
Well, I didn't do
Um,
any of that, but I did
you didn't
cry
do
on the
that.
Denver airport floor. So, you know.
Well, it's when we're taking stock of our life and we're looking back,
Yes.
and people make drastic changes
Yeah,
after that.
I
I want to be
did.
free. I want to be
Yep.
free to be me.
And honestly, that's when my intuitive abilities awakened and intensified was when I let go of that burnout mindset.
I like it. You see, what I like, where it shows me that you're very psychic, is, and also you could talk to those that have passed on. And I've had moments of that too. I am able to talk to people passed on here and there, but I can't do it on will. Um, and so you have what's called Neptune sextile, which is a very good connection with your Mars, which is a planet of action, and Pluto. So, but the outer ones aren't as important, but it's still important because Pluto is right up against your your Mars. So it not only means, and plus Neptune is in your eighth house, so it means that you're extremely investigative, and you've almost got a psychic ability through fear. Fear is more like instinct, like an animal instinct.
Mm.
So you can tell whether you like somebody or not because right away you'll feel anger or fear or you start looking for proof. You'll get the feeling, but you'll start looking for proof to validate that feeling. So you start analyzing the situation or the person. And you're very, very good at that. And you're very gifted as a creative problem solver as well. And so whatever corporate job you have, you're literally going to be kept on to those jobs because of your creative problem solving ability. And you can do it on a dime.
Yeah,
You can do
that's
it
definitely true
in
throughout
a
my career.
heartbeat. Does
Yeah.
that all resonate with you?
Yeah, for sure. And it's true now. I run my own company and I am pretty good at pivoting when I need to and figuring out what the right aligned action is.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more creative it is, and you've also got Jupiter. Now Jupiter square, and a square would normally be negative, but it never is with Jupiter. So you got a Jupiter Moon connection, which means you do have this jolly, optimistic, happy side. But I will say there's one, it sounds like you're absolutely perfect. But you do have this one, which is it's a very far, wide range, but it's your Uranus with your Mercury. So I would say that there may have been a run-in or high expectations from your father or an authority figure in your life. May have also been an early relationship that you were in that does seem to be a marker for you to be harder on yourself because you're constantly trying to get approval from people in authority that are in your life.
Yeah, I absolutely resonate with that. I mean, my
Because
parents were
it really
very
takes
loving
time if you
and
don't.
yeah, very loving and very strict, but I call it a practice wedding instead of saying divorced, but I had a practice wedding and I learned a lot. I learned how to find my voice. I think most people would say I wouldn't see Kara as somebody who doesn't know how to speak up for herself, but I didn't when I was very young and I was married very, very young. And it took me a while to learn how to find my voice and come into my own and ask for what
Were
I
you
want in
between the
life.
age of 17 and 21?
Yeah, I was married when I was 21.
Were you between
Yeah, I was young. I
17 and
was
21?
married when I was 21. Yeah. Is that
Wow.
yeah, so I was married and I was divorced by
So your
25.
sensitivities health-wise. Oh, wow.
I love when you say, "Oh wow," because I know I can see your
So
face and you're
now,
looking at my chart. For those of you that are listening to this episode and
yeah,
going,
well,
"Oh my
I
gosh,
see
what are all
between
these
17
things?"
and 21.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
see that. But you're very independent. You're very independent. You're very brave. Like you will be someone's servant to a certain point because serving is one of your value systems. And to be honest with you, in a past life, you were a servant many times. And so you have to be very careful that you don't cross over from serving to servant. As soon as
Yes.
you see someone taking advantage of you and treating you as if you're their servant, it doesn't take long for you to turn around and walk away just like that.
I'm like, I'll give you like a long, long rope, but then once I feel jaded, then I'm like, okay, I don't trust that you're um that this is a reciprocal relationship in a way that feels meaningful. But it took me a long time to figure that out, honestly. I think that's one of my life lessons when especially when I talk to intuitive people like you. You know, I really was somebody that would do give the shirt off my back to somebody. I was raised by very generous, kind, giving parents. But it is one of those things to learn how to have boundaries and learn how to ensure that you're not taken advantage of and that your kindness isn't mistaken for weakness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
And
that
you
does
don't have
resonate with
regrets.
me.
That's what I like about you is you don't have regrets. If you gave and gave and gave and gave and then somebody just took too much and they weren't really using it for good or to really help them, um, then you're okay. Like, let bygones be bygones, but I'm moving on. I
Yeah.
don't have to, I'm not going to go around telling everybody, you know how much I gave that person and that's good for nothing. Like you're just not,
No.
you get in a mood. Like if I were to talk to anybody who knows you or any of your partners, past, present, or future, know that when Kara gets in a mood, she will let you know exactly right off the hop that she's pissed, she's angry, she's excited, in, just vibrant, but especially around the anger stuff, you get over it really fast.
I do. It's
You
like,
get
but I
over
do.
it.
My husband says I have to talk about it like four times over. I have to just like over communicate it. And then once I'm over it, I'm over it. I'm like, it's like I flip a switch. But it does take me like saying the same thing three or four times to really process it and process my emotions around it. And then I am quick to forgive, way quicker than most people I know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you need to go through the analytics. See, if it's a long-term problem, like it's something that's going on and on and on and on, then you'll get much more analytical
Yes.
about it, and you want to bounce that analytical uh, problem solving with somebody, and you need to have your feelings heard and have your. But if it's like somebody cut you off in the parking lot, or your boss was just in a one-off kind of ticked off mood, or somebody was really mean to you, right at that moment, you'll be mad and then you'll get over that.
Yeah. Yeah, I have friends that still hold grudges. Like I have a group of high school friends and we've been friends for our whole lives and a couple of them like still will hold a grudge against somebody else in high school and I was like, "Really? I mean, we're nearing 50 here, ladies. Like, we might need to let that one go.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No,
I'm
you're not
kind of,
like that at all.
no, I'm like the voice of reason. My one friend says, when I really want to bitch about somebody, I call this friend. And when I need advice, I call you.
Exactly.
And I was like, come on in. I'll help you. Yeah.
Yeah, because even though you're very empathetic, though, you got your Mercury in Cancer in this astrology, and in this one your rising is in Pisces. So you are very empathetic and sympathetic, and you're understanding, but you're also a pull up your bootstraps, let's solve this problem and let's move on kind of person.
Yeah.
You don't
That's
want somebody
totally true.
lying on your shoulder for too long. And so if I'm your friend and I come to you, I better be prepared to get some solution based response from you.
That's fine. Like one of my old vice presidents that rolled up to me, she was like, it took me about 2 months to realize when there's a problem, you have a full open door and I can come to you and I can talk to you about anything. But I also have 3 or 4 or 5 options that we could do. And I know to come with options and solutions. And we might not pick any of those, but I know you're going to ask me anyway. What are our options? How can we solve for this? What can we do? So she's funny. She was like, I just know now that I come with those things and I'm prepared to say, hey, this crazy problem happened, but don't worry. Here's some options. What do you want us to do?
Yeah, and you do the same thing back,
Yes,
right?
I
So
sure do.
you want it back. You want to reciprocate that back and forth. Don't somebody just come up to you all hairy, scary, and going, "Oh my God," da, 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 da," and you're like, "Okay, I'm not your therapist. You obviously don't want a problem solved. You just want a bitch."
Yes.
So you really aren't that person,
No.
in general.
So when you're saying like you have this in this house and this, can you explain to people that maybe haven't seen a full housed chart before, like what are you looking at, and broadly, how are you picking up the way these planets and different things interact with each other and where they're positioned in the sky? Like if you could kind of help people understand that, I think that would be really magical for people.
Yeah. So if you can visualize a circle, and that's the planet Earth. And when you were born, from your vantage point of where you were born, where was everything in the sky the day that you were born? And so I'm looking at a circle with the horizon, and everything that's below, and you have a lot of planets below, means that the moment that you were born, the sun was like in Australia or China, and
Yeah.
the moon was just coming over to the horizon. And you would think the sun should be coming over the horizon, but that doesn't know. We always see the sun. We see the sun every day, right? But sometimes you see the sun and the moon at the same time
Yeah.
in the day. So everything is divided into 12 segments. For whatever reason, 12 is a very ancient Babylonian powerful number that has always been. And then now some people say there's a 13th constellation as well. And even if you study the pyramids, there are constellations and there are hieroglyphics that are showing all of the planets and the constellations. And the constellations is the constellation of Aries, constellation of Taurus, constellation of Cancer, Leo, Virgo, all the way up. Those are all constellations. And so the planets are kind of in those constellations. Like you're looking with a telescope and you can see that the sun is in the constellation of Leo the day that you were born. And so that's what I'm reading. So it's in a roundabout chart. It's showing me all the planets that were below the Earth from where you are. And then it's showing me the planets that were above you the day that you were born. So somebody that was born in China, or Japan, or Australia, the same time and day you were born, they would see the exact opposite. Because the sun was above.
Right.
For them. It was during the day. For them.
Right.
You were born at night.
Right.
So, and then we read that. All of that means something. The houses are all different sections of your life. Like the first house is the house of self. The second house is the house of values and money and earnings. Third house is education, teaching, learning, siblings, that type of stuff. 10th house is business. 7th house is marriages, partnerships, legal affairs, that type of stuff. And each planet means something. So the sun represents the idea of the characteristics you want to learn or enhance in this lifetime. And I can tell the difference whether you're learning in your case, you're learning to be a Leo, to shine the light on you, to make yourself important. That's probably why you birthed yourself to parents that were going to make you feel important and loving and caring. You didn't have to struggle with them treating you terribly and you second guessing, I'm not an important person. And then the moon represents past lives. You're a warrior, because Aries are always warriors. You're a fighter. You're an advocate, and that's what you did in past lives. And the moon also represents your childhood and your mother, and how you deal with your emotions on a day-to-day basis. That's why I did the Aries, feisty side of you. And your Mercury represents how you think and how you communicate and how you learn. And Venus doesn't just indicate who you love, it indicates what you love. And
interesting.
What your interests are and
how
you love yourself as well. And Mars indicates how you deal with your anger, your frustration, and what do you do to get what you love? What actions do you take to go about getting what you love or what you don't love in your life? So
that's amazing.
On and on.
I love it. So if somebody's like, okay, I'm into this. Like, I don't really know what all this means, but I thought that was pretty cool what you did with Kara. Like, does it make sense for somebody to read a book? Does it make sense for somebody to get a reading and then reflect and dig in deeper from the things that they see? Where do you recommend a first or second step for somebody if they've never been to an astrologer before?
If they're hesitant, like I always tell people, just get like a 15-minute reading from me, or even I got a 10-minute one. That's a discovery one. I'll just talk about who you are. No questions are answered. I just ramble off about who you are and your childhood, etc. They can also go on what's called astro.com, astro.com. You can do Western or Sidereal there and do your own chart.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of links there that you can read what they say it all means. Now, it will feel contradictory, though, when you read it in that way, because they're not mashing it together. They're giving you all the segments, right? It's like giving you all the ingredients. But if I said to you, well, I got flour, I got vinegar, I got butter, I got a couple of eggs, I got some cacao, I got some, and what am I going to make?
Chocolate cake.
I don't know. Could be making a chocolate
that sounds exactly like my grandmother's chocolate cake.
Muffin, right? I could be making, who knows? I could be making a few things, right?
Sure.
So those are separate ingredients, but once you put them together, you get a chocolate cake.
Yeah.
Right? So when you read all the different separate ingredients of who you are, you won't see the chocolate cake part. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, you'll start contradicting yourself. It'll start feeling like it's contradicting some of it. But I'm able to, I know what is stronger, what is weaker, what is more blended, what is more of a challenge, more of a struggle. And then so you get the chocolate cake when you get the reading.
And is part of that your ability to incorporate intuitiveness into what you're reading, or is more of that from your training, or a bit of both?
Definitely it's a bit of both. Like I said, I know people who have studied astrology and they still segment everything, even when they read for you, because they don't know. Like I said, I must have done this in a past life or many lives, because I just know by looking at it right away.
Yeah.
If I start going too much by the book, like as soon as I learn something new, I'm always teaching myself more and more about astrology. Mm-hmm. The more that I try to go by the book, the more I lose my intuition. I don't know. I don't like going that way. So I just stick to my intuition and what I see in the big picture, and I see that, and it always works.
Yeah, that's kind of how I live my life. I prepare and I organize and I make sure that I know what I'm doing, but then I also just allow myself to be intuitively guided. I think I just live my life that way, honestly.
Well, I have a lot of Leo and Virgo in my chart too.
Maybe that's why we like each other so much. Yeah. Or at least I assume I like you. I'm hoping you like me too, Holly. No pressure. Okay, so do you use these intuitive gifts in your everyday life? Like, do you use it in just the way you live your life? Like, how does this intuitiveness function for you in your day-to-day world?
So, like, life can get in the way. It definitely gets in the way. We live in a society that's designed to keep us in the left side of our brain.
Yeah.
To go in the grocery store, it's just designed that way to keep us stuck there. So it is, that can get in the way for me. And I can feel as if this is what I noticed a while ago, where I would say yes to something, and then as the time started to approach, I felt like I didn't want to go, and I didn't know why, and I would overanalyze it. I get really in that left side of my brain. I'm going, "What's wrong with you, Holly? Just go. You already said yes. You can't say no. Like, big deal." And then the they got canceled, and so I, like, intuitively I knew it wasn't even going to happen,
Yeah.
and I overanalyzed the whole thing. So I try not to do that anymore. Now I just say no. Like, if my body says no or my brain says no, I just don't do it. And inevitably something happens that I shouldn't have gone, or the event didn't happen at all. Um, we've been nomads for 3 years. We're just building our tiny house right now. I'm interviewing in my fifth wheel at
Love
the
it.
and I just woke up 3 years ago. I just woke up and said, let's renovate our kitchen. And so we did, and we got all the best deals. And it was just before, like, the crazy Reno COVID stuff started
Sure.
happening. And we just got great deals. It was a beautiful kitchen. I didn't know why I wanted to do that, but we did it. And then 3 months later, I woke up and said, let's sell our house. So, which obviously a renovated kitchen is very good for the sale of the house, but I didn't plan the two together.
Yeah.
And then our house sold in 5 days. It sold at the peak of its in our area. No other house of our type ever sold that high before. And then I said, let's not buy a house yet. Let's just get a trailer and start traveling. So that's what we did. And that's what we've been doing. And now I've had enough. I want my studio. I want my office.
Yeah.
But it led us to where we are now, on some family property. And they've got a spot where we can build a small. Oh, my lighting just went out. We can build a small house,
Yeah.
and that's what we're doing.
That's amazing. I love that. It's interesting. Like, so when you talk about, you said if something is a no, then it's a no, or even if it's a no, like I've said yes and then I say no, that sometimes you'll be intuition or the universe will intervene and make that happen. But if it doesn't, do you trust that? Do you trust that, like, if energetically you're not aligned, or if you don't have the energy, because this work that we do takes a lot of energy. So do you follow that? If you're like, you know what, I've done too much work, I feel full, or I feel like I need to recharge. Are you pretty good at listening to those cues?
Yeah, I'm better now than before. About a year and a half ago, I looked at my chart and I saw, if you know a little bit about it, I saw Uranus was going to be squaring my moon. And I knew that this would exasperate some issues I was already having with my daughter and my mother, my relationship with my mother, my relationship with my mother, because I'm no longer in a relationship with my mother for quite some time, her choice. And I knew it was going to exasperate that, but it was also in the house of health. And so I literally said to my guides, source, universe, I said, I do want to upgrade, because all of these are always adjustment periods for upgrading your skills.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I said, I do want to upgrade, but I don't want to have a near-death experience, and I don't want to have to choose whether I'm taking chemotherapy or not. So what happened, and always with Uranus, it's very unpredictable. So I'm going to get to the answer to that. This is a long answer. When it happened, I was worried about traveling, because we were traveling at that time too. So nothing happened with traveling. What happened, it was my health. So I got sick 3 times throughout, from May to October. I was nonstop sick after sick after sick. And then I just didn't recoup from that. So I ended up with adrenal fatigue. So, which I'm still dealing with now, but I'm much better than I was. I literally couldn't even do much for 10 minutes, but I could still do readings. I could still have my psychic ability. All of that never left. Just my physical exhaustion was there. So what it did was it taught me to slow down.
Yeah.
It taught me to, as you know, very creative people, we're very scattered, and our energy is in usually 5, 10, 20 different places at the same time. And then we wonder why we don't get anything done.
You're like, call it back.
Exactly. So this made me really focus quite a bit, and still, and in fact, there's a part of this sickness or illness or whatever you want to call it, because I don't even like to call it that, because I feel like it's been a friend to me rather than an enemy. And I wouldn't say I liked it all the time.
Right.
Sometimes it was a friend. I just, we
Irritated.
were
That
hanging out too
irritated
much.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, go, go away. Um, but that's what it's done. So I used to do 4 or 5 sessions in a day. I've cut down to 3. I'll do 4 if it's a coaching session, which means it's somebody I talk to like every week or every
Right.
other week,
Yeah.
because it's a different energy with that. And yeah, absolutely. But it's the same as a lot of psychics and mediums, and I'm sure you say the same thing. It's easier to read for other people than it is for yourself.
Totally.
It's easier to give advice to other people and you don't always take it yourself, you know.
Yeah,
So
it is true. I'm getting better at that, I will say, at leaning into my own curiosity of my own things. But yeah, it's easier to help someone else than help yourself. That's probably true for a lot of people.
because you're not emotionally involved and you're not um self-critical generally. Like once you get good at what you're doing, I don't really criticize everything that's coming out of my mouth when I'm talking to somebody.
Yeah.
And plus they validate it, and that validation is very energy provoking as it is. But
Yeah.
when you're talking to yourself and you're telling yourself, you start analyzing, get critical, you know, is this, you're not giving yourself positive feedback.
Usually when I'm at that place, I tune in with my team in spirit and ask for, and I do downloads and automatic writing. And I was like, what am I missing? Teach me, what am I not seeing here? I clearly need you guys to tell me because I'm missing
I
it
have a
myself.
pendulum.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Over here.
I
Yeah, I have
feel,
a pendulum that I use.
yeah.
And I did automatic writing. I used to do automatic. I taught that. That's how I wrote the book.
Yeah,
So
I feel very lucky. And when my grandfather comes through, who passed away, yeah, lovely. It's an old school cursive. I close my eyes and I just whatever's coming out, I trust, and then I get that guidance, and so I appreciate that. And when it's my guardian angels, it's slightly different handwriting than that. So I like that. I appreciate getting that help when I need it because sometimes my human side can't quite process it all.
I get
So
answers in my dreams. My dreams are
yeah,
really profound.
love
I've
that.
been studying dreams since I was in my early 20s because of it. And if I remember, sometimes we forget we have these abilities.
Totally.
And so I go to sleep going, okay, can you give me an answer?
Yeah,
I really need an answer. And I'll
give me
get
that
one
guidance.
with that. Yeah.
Okay, so I'd love to do this. We're kind of nearing our time here, and I ask everybody these questions that comes on the podcast, and it's just to get to know you a little bit better. So it's just rapid fire. Tell me your response to things, okay?
It's going to work. Yeah.
Okay, what is your favorite food?
Oh my gosh. Food, I once upon a time I would have said pizza, but I can't eat that anymore. So what is my favorite food? My homemade ice cream. I make my
Oh,
own ice
lovely.
cream. Yeah.
Nice. Your favorite place to travel or place you would travel next if there were no restrictions of anything?
Italy.
Oh, nice. Your favorite holiday?
Ah, I don't like the commercialism of holidays at all. So
You could say
I would
none of
say
them.
May 24. That's a Canadian holiday
May
because
24?
yeah, because it's a Victoria. I think it's Victoria Day because
Oh,
we get
nice.
together with some friends and family.
Lovely.
Yeah. Sorry
What
about that.
about do you have any spirit animals or favorite animals or spirit animals that show themselves to you?
Elephant.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. I
Yeah.
actually got to care for some elephants in India. Many,
I would love to
many.
be like, I won't
Yeah.
go to the zoo because I don't
Yeah.
like animals that are caged up in the zoo.
Yeah, I get
Some
that.
of them are rescues, and I'm okay with that too. But
Yeah. This was like a rescue sanctuary where we went to.
yeah, yeah.
What about your favorite thing about what you do for a living?
I, helping people, but I like connecting to source at the same time too. But I would
Yeah.
say helping people, just feeling like I'm making a difference in somebody's life that may not have happened if we didn't connect.
Yeah. What brings you profound joy?
That same thing.
They're one and the
Nature.
same. I
Walking
love
in
and
nature.
nature. That's great. That's
Yeah,
a good answer.
yeah.
What advice would you have for somebody who wants to strengthen their connection with their team and spirit, or their intuition, or connecting to source? What would you recommend they do?
Yeah, mostly that right brain exercises, the doodling. There's a new thing. I used to do it all the time, but now they call it neuro art. And it's where you scribble all over like this all over, then you color in all of the lines.
All the little parts, yeah.
Different colors, yeah. You can use your body as a pendulum. You can make your own pendulum. Muscle testing. There's so many different ways that you can connect with your intuition and just start, like if you don't want to go to that party, you don't want to go to that event, you feel like you should turn left rather than right. Even when you're wrong, commend yourself. Like, let's say you say, I should go left, but you went right.
Yeah.
See, I knew it. And there was a construction going on, right? I knew I should have went left. Instead of getting mad at yourself, go, you know what? My intuition was right.
Yeah. Next time I'm going to listen to it.
Yeah, exactly.
But celebrate it. I think that's a really good perspective, because it doesn't do you any good to be hard on yourself. What does that do for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice. Okay, how can people connect with you? How can they work with you? Give us all the deets.
So my website is Askhollyhall. So literally like you're asking me questions. Hollyhall, HALL.com. It's also Askhollyhall on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. TikTok I'm most popular on. I got about 53K followers there. And YouTube as well. So they're all Askhollyhall. And holly@askhollyhall.com is my email. But through my website is where you book the sessions. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. I will make sure to link those in the show notes. So if you're thinking, I want to do a discovery call or even a 15 or 30-minute call with Holly, I highly encourage you to click the show notes and to Holly's website and at least start there. And if you like it, then book a live reading with her. Like, what an amazing treat to have you on the podcast and for me to be able to be given a reading live so people can get an understanding of what it's going to feel like for them to have you do some work with them.
Thank you. I had a blast, Kara.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast, Holly. I truly appreciate it.